I'm gonna put these heads back on this Corvette today. A couple follow-up things from the last video. I don't think we talked about it, but probably tough to see, but there are bronze guide inserts pressed in there. It felt like the valve to guide clearance was okay, so we're gonna proceed. Measuring these valves, this is a 150 valve. These bigger valves are 194s. What you're looking at here is a bucket of stainless valves. Pull a couple out. I believe they're all the same size. I just measured them. These are 194 intakes, exact same size. And this is like a 1/600 exhaust. Now I could have these heads punched out and bigger seats put in it and put like 202s in here and these or whatever. The goal right here is not for performance, just to get this car running reliably. So here's our valve with the rounded tip, and here's our replacement. This is a Manley from Summit. There's a number of measurements I had to look at when getting this, like the actual valve length, the stem diameter, the head diameter, if it was undercut, the number of grooves for the keeper. This one's like a double lock, and this is like a single lock. One other thing I was looking at was how the face is designed. So this is pretty much a perfect replacement. This one even looks like it's swirl polished. There was another option. This valve was from Summit. This one would work too, but the face is cut a little bit different. So I'm just going to go with the closest thing I can find. This motor has limited use on it. I'm not going to bother lapping in all these other valves, but I'm just going to lap this one in. We'll see how it mates with this seat here. Then we'll probably clean it up and call it a day. I found all my valve lapping compound. I have up to 600 grit here. I'll probably just progressively work from 120 all the way up to 600 by hand with this. 120, I got a little bit in the face, a little bit of oil on the stem. I should have got the smaller valve lapping tool. You can see there's a concentric ring on there, but that ring's at the bottom of the seat. Definitely not ideal. So that's what we got. I'm just gonna work through the rest of these grits, and then we'll take a look at it after the 600. There's the 600 compound. And it's a clean ring all the way around, no pits. It's gonna seal. And the thing about this is this head heats up, things change size, and it's really questionable how effective this even is, but first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean this all up really good and make sure I didn't leave any grit in here. This is kind of a joke, but this is the seal that came off of it. But this valve looks like it was locked in just with the top groove. I'm looking at this keeper and it got moshed. And that rocker I'm riding on it. I'm gonna chase out all these exhausts and intake threads real quick. I dumped some mineral spirits in there to see if it leaks down. Nothing so far. Seems to be holding. I already did all the other ones, so I think we're good there. This head's basically ready to reinstall. A friend of mine commented on the stud possibly being the issue, how it was installed. Just taking crude measurements in between the studs. And there is a noticeable difference here. It's like this stud is installed slightly like that. I'm just gonna run it. If this happens again, I'm gonna have to do something with that, I think. I mean, it's just a hair, but it could be enough to set it off. I slept on it, and I just couldn't live with this stud being over a little bit. I don't have the means to correct the threads in the base of that head right now. Probably even shouldn't show this, but I practiced heating up the just the very base of the stud here, and then tweaking it over the tube. This one was too much. And then that one, I got it over just a little bit, and you can't even hardly tell. This nut the rocker arm rides on floats all the way up and down it. So I'm hoping this will be better now. I got the push rod, stud, and valve all in alignment, like all the other ones. So not recommended, but that's what I did to this motor. This head is date coded correct for this car, even though I don't believe this had to be original to the car. So I kind of want to keep this head on the car. So this is the original block to the car, and pretty much all these head bolt holes go into the water jackets. So I gotta do something with sealing there. Since it's the original block, I don't want to use bolts in it. I want to use a stud kit to go easy on the block. Now, I was talking to ERP, and apparently this thread is cut like sharper than this. He said this is a cold rolled thread. So this is not going to seal as good as this. Right in their instructions they say to use ERP thread sealer. But I heard some horror stories there, so I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to put Permatex thread sealant on all the threads of these studs. All these threads have been chased, sprayed with brake cleaner and air a couple times. And I got everything cleaned up here as good as I'm going to get it. I guess I should probably check to make sure that I can get the head on with the studs in place. I don't know. I think I'm just going to go for it. All these studs get screwed in the block hand tight only. These instructions are saying that you assemble, tighten, and then adjustments can be made up to 24 hours. So I'll make sure there's at least 24 hours before I fill this with water and start the car. Here's all the studs installed on this side with that thread sealing Teflon paste. I believe that paste is supposed to cure. I sure hope that works and seals up these studs good. I talked to the guys at Cometic and they said, try this gasket. Matches up to all the holes really good. And it's going to crush to 23 thousandths of an inch thick. This hole size is 4060, which is smaller than what was on there. This is what was on there with a 4.10 hole size and a similar crush. So it's going to be pretty similar compression, I believe. Gasket on there. We'll see if we can get the head on though. At this stage of the game, I'm going to lubricate these washers and threads and nuts with this assembly lubricant. Get it all hand tight and step torque it down to their recommended 80 foot-pounds because we're using their lubricant. Here's what your hands are going to look like after doing that. This is the torque sequence I'm going to torque it in. Maybe 20, 40, 60, 80, something like that. Get her done. Probably doesn't make much difference, but I went first step, both sides, second step, both sides, third step.
And nothing to fault the old gaskets. I think they were Felpro, and they have that blue, like silicone on the coating of the head gasket. And they did their job because there was no leaks or anything. And to clean it, I was trying to get all that blue stuff off with a wire wheel and everything. It still needed lacquer thinner to get it off. But this is the new company I went with, Cometics. I think that's the latest technology. And we're adding one more decal to the lift. So this will remind us of working on the Corvette and the head gaskets that we had to put on. Wait. So that'll remind us, each decal we put on reminds us of a certain project we worked on.